Chair McLeod, you're live.
Thank you. And so I will call to order this meeting of the Community and Corporate Services Standing Committee of the Town of Collingwood. And I will turn to Councillor Berman for the land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For more than 15,000 years, the First Nations walked upon and cared for the many lands we now call home. Anishinaabek, Haudenosaunee, Ojibwe, and many others who were families, friends, and communities the way we are today. The town of Collingwood acknowledges the Lake Simcoe-Nottawasaga Treaty of 1818 and the relationship it establishes with the original inhabitants of Turtle Island. We acknowledge the reality of our shared history and the current contributions of Indigenous people within our community. We seek to continue empowering expressions of pride amongst all of the diverse stakeholders in this area. We seek to do better and to continue to recognize, learn, and grow in friendship and community, nation to nation.
Thank you. And that brings us to the adoption of the agenda. And I'm looking for a motion that the content of the Corporate and Community Services Standing Committee agenda for January 10th, 2022 be adopted as presented. And that is Councillor Berman and Councillor Madigan. Looking for declarations of pecuniary interest. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest among the council or the committee members this afternoon? Seeing none, I will move on to business arising from the previous meeting. Is there business arising from the previous meeting at this time? Seeing none, I'll move on to reports and minutes of other committees and boards. And the motion that I'm looking for here is that the minutes of the various committees and boards provided below be received and that the recommendations contained therein be approved, which includes item 5.1, which is the Collingwood Downtown BIA Board of Management minutes, December the 9th. And the recommendation is that the BIA Board of Management recommends the town investigate the acquisition of property in the downtown 4-8 Market Square. And that matter will be discussed in the future. And item 5.2, Museum Advisory Committee minutes from November the 25th of 2021. May I have a mover and seconder, please, for those? Moved by the mayor and seconded by Vice Chair Madigan. Which brings us to item number 6, which is the consent agenda. And I'm looking for a motion that the council.
Sorry.
Yes.
I'll just get you to call the vote on those minutes. Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry. So the mover and seconder. So now I need a vote, please. All those in favor. And that is carried. I am also in favor, and somehow without my. There we are. Thank you, Clerk Almas, first of the new year. And which brings us to item number 6, which is the consent agenda. And the motion I'm looking for. Actually, I'm looking if there's any item on this that wants to be pulled for direction. Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion that the council herein receive the general consent agenda, and further that the information and opinions provided in the general consent agenda items are that of the authors and are not verified or approved as being correct. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Berman, seconded by Vice Chair Madigan. Do we have any discussion on the item on the consent agenda? Thank you. I will turn actually to, is Executive Director Peg with us, Clerk Almas? I believe Executive Director Peg has some clarification regarding the employee vehicle policies. And I wonder if you might be able to illuminate us a little bit in connection with this item.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair McLeod. So I will speak to the letter that was received. So department heads were reviewing this in 2021 and having discussions around the allocation of corporate vehicles. I will say that any employee that takes home a corporate vehicle as of 2022, it is a taxable benefit, and we are compliant with CRA requirements for personal use of a vehicle. The department head responsible for this division was and is aware of the employee that's using this vehicle and has confirmed that it is required for operational reasons at this time. Certainly, we are prepared in 2022 to look at our overarching procedure for the use of corporate vehicles, and should there be a need to make any changes, not specific to this employee's use, but anywhere within the organization, we would update our procedure and enact those changes accordingly. But I can confirm that we are aware of the employee using the vehicle, and the department head has confirmed its operational need, and specifically around COVID protocols, there's an enhanced need for individual use of vehicles. I'll also comment too, within the letter, there's mention of the vehicle not being deckled. So for clarity, I did speak to the, again, Director Slama, who's responsible for the division around this particular instance, as well as our fleet and facilities manager who oversees the deckling of vehicles. And it is always our intention to have town vehicles deckled. That said, we do use an economies to scale approach when purchasing decals. So we have an inventory of them, we decal our vehicles, and then we go out and have a bulk purchase of them for economies to scale, and we decal our new vehicles. This vehicle was captured at a time when we did not have a decal available, but we were in the process of procuring the decals. So we were aware that this one particular vehicle was out without a decal, but for operational COVID protocols, it was required. Department heads were aware and were not concerned, and the vehicle is now deckled and has been on the streets deckled since those, I'll say, pieces became available. So I do certainly appreciate the concern coming forward, but we are aware and are comfortable with our procedure. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions or queries from the members of the committee? Seeing none, then I'll call the vote on receiving this item, and all in favor. Thank you very much. That brings us to departmental updates, and we have a few of them today, as a matter of fact. Item number 7, and I believe we'll begin with Director Collver, and we want to hear about recreational services and how we can go skating. Director Collver.
Thank you, Chair. If I could just like a quick slide deck that I'll just run through, and items 7.1 and 2 will be captured in the slide deck, so I kind of bundled it all together. I apologize if that's confusing. I'm first day back on the job in 22, so I had to scramble a bit this morning to put it together, so hopefully it's okay with everyone. If you share my screen here, hopefully everything works out the way it should. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, gotta get this out of the way so I can see things. Here we go. So the first item to be discussed is the Fisher Field House. So the project is currently projected for late May. So obviously, and admittedly, it's a great deal longer the length of project than we had ever anticipated when we set out long ago. But we are happy that it'll be in place in time for the summer sports season. The outstanding works left to be completed are interior finishes. Some of the pictures give an indication of what that might look like. The exterior concrete apron that surrounds the building. And we are actually adding some accessible parking spaces, asphalting some spaces for parking, for accessible use, an accessible facility. And upon completion, we'll also be looking at putting in some trail works, most specifically to take people from the field house and the east parking lot out to the Del Lorenzo Tree Park in the northwest corner, but also to make sure that there's good connectivity around. Move over to my next slide if it works for me. There we go. So the Awen water play, we're projecting to get the tender issued in February. Again, this is a lot longer process. COVID has really interfered with our ability to properly plan and design and develop material strategies for how to get this part completed. But having said that, February, the tender should drop, and hopefully we get a good uptake of interested people willing to build this spectacular water play feature in Harborview Park. The parking lot is complete, as many people have noticed. That's to one layer of asphalt. So if you're wondering why there's a lip, that's because the second layer hasn't been applied yet. As well, the trails are a little narrow around the outer edge. They will be widened and paved basically to coordinate with the rest of the trails in Harborview Park at the point when the water play is completed. And then I have a little bit of an exciting ad here. Oops, back up one. Recently, we've gotten together with Dr. Redbird, the elder who advised us on the Awen Gathering Place and who was instrumental in advising us on the development of the water play. He actually is contributing an original piece of art. You can see it sort of down there in the right-hand corner. It's we're still working on how to get it in there, but we're very privileged and pleased to be able to incorporate Dr. Redbird's original artwork into the facility as well. It'll be located behind the waterfall. That is the major feature within the water play experience. Sunset Point Playground. Many people will know that the new washroom is now installed and ready for commissioning in spring. It's in good shape, looks to be very robust, and we're quite pleased after a really long and multiple COVID delays in getting it installed. Grading is largely underway. The mound where the lighthouse will go in the west side of the park, the east side of the park, is almost there. I believe last time I was there, it was about half the height it's going to be. So getting there. The boardwalk is largely completed. You can see in the image in the lower right. The work will continue ongoing, and specifically, and I'm going to get to the mini stage in a second. If you look deep into the park through the construction fence, you'll see a mini stage where the bones are in place, but I'll deal with that in the next slide. Gas tax funding, as mentioned publicly, has been allocated to the Sunset Point Playground under the new rules, which is awesome. And we're excitedly waiting on another grant, the result of another grant application, which we believe will be favorable, and we'll be announcing that as soon as we're allowed to. But that'll be another positive for the Sunset Point project. I mentioned the mini stage. The mini stage, which is sort of deep in the park, sort of towards the Rotary Pavilion. And it's, again, a feature that we're really excited about is it's completely accessible. Will provide a lot of multi-uses for a broad variety of people. But when it's complete, it will have a backdrop, a colorful artistic backdrop. We are installing panels, and initially, when it's complete, we'll be installing panels that represent the Love Bomb event that happened in Enviro Park not too long ago, and to sort of commemorate that event and to bring the joy of that community coming together forward into the new park. At a later point, when we've got our ducks in a row and COVID allows for it, a little mini arts fest for youth will have youngsters adding their own art under the guidance of a commissioned artist facilitator. And we'll be rotating that every year. So our young artists in our community will have the opportunity to have their works displayed on the backdrop for the period of a year. I'll make note, although it wasn't specifically asked for in the update, we did want to make sure that people were aware, if they've seen them, that the wayfinding signage has been installed. We're really happy that it's finally installed. It did take a little bit longer, as everything has, but it really will help with consistent communication in all park spaces, having people understand both, where they are, how to get to where they want to go, and also the rules that are required in the space they're present in. Staff in the events and culture area developed a festival called Bring on the Light, which is another self-guided opportunity for people to experience healthy outdoor activity. Under the Light skating happens January 12th and 9th, and with a bonfire and illuminated skating. You have to register, as you do for all outdoor skating, but it should be a nice night, we hope. There's light installations. There's a story walk on the train trail and in Heritage Park. There's a scavenger hunt that begins at Georgian Meadow Park. And there's Lamppost Light Verse, which is a collection of poems designed to give people just an optimistic outlook on this darker time of year. The whole point of this Bring on the Light is to help battle some of the mental wellness issues that we're facing today with the COVID burdens, and sometimes the darker days add to that. did want to also point out, and I'll get into trail grooming a little bit detail in a second, but there is a lot going on. We have groomed trails now. Staff are out there diligently working to keep the spaces as smooth and stable as they can. We still have Rally Point, which is virtual opportunities. Chair yoga is a very, very popular virtual activity. There's quite a following for chair yoga, and it's ongoing. Tobogganing is a fantastic outdoor pursuit, and we have 2 parks that offer toboggan hills. We, as mentioned, outdoor skating. There's also a warm water therapy pool. Now the pool is closed for COVID, but under provision of the regulations, we have a provider who is certified and licensed to provide therapy and use the pool. So as much as it's shut down, we're doing everything we can to allow those in most need access to the therapeutic effects that they can get benefit from. So everybody should follow social media promotion. We're doing mental health and safety tips related to walking, tobogganing, and we're connecting people to resources like 211 if they're experiencing challenges or struggles with mental health or other issues. And generally just looking to keep everybody active because it's so important if we want to stay well. The Trails Network grooming, this map represents all the areas that are being groomed, and this map will be available on the town trails page very, very shortly. We've really taken a little bit, snow just arrived pretty much, and we needed a base to get going, but now that we're going, we'll be able to let people know where to go to experience groomed trails. I should note also that we're still coordinating with Town of the Blue Mountains regarding grooming the Georgian Trail, so that'll continue in 22. And this makes sure that the better part of that extent of the Georgian Trail is available for people who want those long distance walks. The outdoor rink, so it was open as of last week, and it's definitely being very, very well used. We're following all COVID protocols, and we have a maximum capacity that we can allow for every 50-minute skate period. You have to book using Perfect Mind, which is if you go to the town's website and search skating programs, it should be the first thing that pops up. It'll be the page where you can find the link to book to go outdoor skating. These pictures represent staff hard at work. It is a diligence exercise to try and keep that ice good and proper, and Mother Nature doesn't always want to work with us, but staff do an incredible job at it. And just my final shot picture that as challenging as working outside can be, this is actually one of the shots they got to experience in an afternoon, so it's not all bad. So that's the update I have. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Director Collver. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Councillor Comey.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Director Collver. I'm not sure you were on last time that I gave a little shout out congratulating you on those projects. And you know what, I wasn't aware of the plan or about the love bomb acknowledgement over at Sunset. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. It was sad to think that those concrete culverts, had to be destroyed, but it's great to hear that there is a plan for them to be acknowledged. And I just wanted to comment, I'm glad you mentioned social media because I noticed as well some of the great messaging that's coming out on the social media channels. I took note of the tobogganing one, and I thought it was great to see pictures of young families being shared and getting across all those ideas. So just, it goes without saying, congratulations to you and your staff for pulling it all together so quickly. And what a wonderful thing for you to be associated with all 3 of these really exciting projects that will forever change the landscape of the town. So congrats to all involved. That's all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or queries from members of the committee? Thank you, Director Collver. Lots of hard work going on in there for sure. So that brings us to item 7.3, and we will invite Chief Parr to join us.
Thank you, Chair McLeod. I have 3 different hats wearing today, so I'll try and give 3 brief updates. First of all, bylaw had a very busy year last year. over 3,200 bylaw occurrences in 2021. It's a 16% increase over 2020. Some of the highlights is we launched paid parking at Sunset Point and Princeton Shores. Over 120 trails parking patrols were completed in 2021. We institute using bikes for seasonal staff, which help accomplish these tasks, and it sounds like a big success with the staff we had this summer. Some of the other, we're including digital parking tickets going to be instituted within the next week or two, hopefully. We had 35 tickets were paid through the Gift It Forward ticket campaign, resulting in over 800 worth of toys and food being donated this year. Another one that we had tickets where we had the program for downtown tickets canceled. There was 191 tickets, $20,100 and $3,000 were spent in our downtown core with that program. So what that averaged is for every ticket that was canceled had a value of $20 to $30, approximately $105 was spent at various downtown businesses. They're a very busy group and very proud of them, what they accomplish with the staffing levels we have. So moving on to emergency management, gladly and luckily there's nothing really exciting, but good news is every year we have to file compliance report, and we just received that our compliance report will go forward, and we had compliance for 2021. On the fire side, it was our busiest year so far at the Collingwood Fire Service. We had 930 calls for service. Very, very busy holiday season, but good news is that there was no serious calls at the time over the holiday, no fires, and nobody lost their home over the time. The booster vaccine program at the fire hall is going strong, and the report right now we're 100% compliance of all staff at the Collingwood Fire Department. So very proud of staff for looking at this and how it protects the community. In our prevention bureau, we have a lot of help from our IT department, Aaron especially, Lindsay too on another side, but for going digital, we've been able to reach out to businesses, save people time by having emails electronically generated to businesses, understanding that they're required to have their fire extinguishers maintained or their hood systems checked or certified. So it's an awesome program, and just looking forward to that evolving in the future too. At the same time with IT support, we started our back into the program doing building familiarization, and Lindsay from IT developed the program for us to use on our iPad, and very successful program getting our staff out to understand buildings. We had a bad fire this year on 10th Street, and a program like this can only enhance fire safety throughout the community and help our firefighters understand the building when we have situations like this. Another kind of exciting thing with it that I thought is we used our drone this year for multiple inspections on property. The only thing we have to do, we follow all guidelines. We have actually flying licenses for all members who use the drone. We just have to notify the owner of the property that we're doing an inspection on that we're using a drone, and really help us see and understand stuff that we never would see. Top of buildings is some place that we don't really look at it as often, but there we did. On the community side, we have donated $12,000 was raised at Christmas time with our food drive just and kettle drive, and 1,300 bags of food went to the food bank, which was a really good accomplishment. And I think I hope that was quick enough, and I'm not wasting anybody's time, but we've been very busy. It's been a good year for the Collingwood Fire Service, and looking forward to another great year and going forward with some of these advances. The other thing I like to mention is it's just, I know I shout out to IT, but it's all Collingwood's team. Everywhere from if we need something plowed because we have no access from public works or even from planning, always asking about fire truck access and development, to all staff, customer support systems with our teams at Town Hall and also over at the third floor library. It seems that we're working together so well now in the town, and the building department, big shout to them also, because with them, we're really working at making Collingwood a fire safe community.
Thank you, Chief Parr. Any comments, queries, questions from members of the committee? Thank you. Oh, Mayor Saunderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and just through you to Ross. It's very good to see a happy report from our fire department, because that's not often the case. And it was a very busy year, and that was a serious fire that we had on that apartment, and it was well attended and put out very quickly. And I'm glad to see motions being made to get online and to increase our services, particularly with compliance. So thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to start 2022 by breaking down some silos. I like it. Item 7.4 on our agenda, which is Treasurer Quinlan, and she has an update for us regarding an issue we dealt with last summer, and it has to do with water arrears. Thank you for joining us, Treasurer Quinlan.
Thank you, Chair McLeod. We do have a short presentation as well. Thank you. We just wanted to update members of committee on the latest for our water and wastewater arrears collection. I'll note some information that's been updated since the last time we spoke in October. Next slide, please. So since our initial discussion back in May, we have now collected nearly 150,000 in arrears in total. This is for both tenanted and owner accounts, which is great news. So we've taken a big chunk out of the just over 200,000 we were dealing with back in May of 2021. I'll also note that only 3 shutoffs were required thus far. Next slide, please. So as part of our presentation in October, we brought forward 3 different options for members of committee to review. Option 2 was chosen, which ended the water shutoff procedures and put in place this new process that accounts in arrears that are greater than 90 days will be transferred to the tax roll of the owner of the property. I'll note that the updated application for EPCOR allows us to communicate with property owners as to their tenants' outstanding amounts. Additionally, a tenant consent form has been created for current tenanted accounts that allow landlords to receive that authorization as well. Next slide, please. So in December, we sent out just over 1,000 letters to properties so that those that were tenanted at some point and over the last several years were made aware of this new process. It provided some frequently asked questions, detailed the new process, and it also provided a copy of the tenant authorization form. My apologies. We received many calls from landlords to get further clarity, but I'm really happy to report that for the most part, the calls have been quite positive. Finally, I'll also just share that the website has been fully updated and includes all of the details of the new process, and also includes the FAQs and the tenant authorization form as well. And I think that's it for our update.
Thank you, Treasurer Quinlan. Any comments or questions or queries from members of the committee? Seeing none, I have one comment, and that is what a delight it was to receive a call from a resident who was thrilled at how this has all come to pass. And so often as members of council, we receive comments from the public about where is this and why is that and so on and so forth. And it was a delight to have someone so very satisfied with what's taking place at Town Hall. So thank you, Treasurer Quinlan, for providing me with the opportunity to take praise on your behalf. And that brings us to item number 8, which is public delegations. And at this time, we invite anyone from the public who has anything to say to us or questions to ask regarding items on the agenda to say so. And I'll turn to Clerk Almost to see if there is anyone there is not anyone in our audience who is interested, which brings us to item number 9, which is other business. Members of the committee, does anyone have other business which they would like to bring forward at this time? And seeing none, I believe we have set another record for this committee, and we are at 2:29 p.m. and I would like to see a motion for adjournment. That is from Vice Chair Madigan, and all those in favor? And we are adjourned at 2:30 p.m. Thank you so much.